Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wal-aqibatu lil-muttaqeen. Wa ala sayyidil anbiya wal-mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Fa inna ma'al usri yusra. Sadaqallahu al-azim. Wa sadaqa rasuluhu naminul nabarim. Wa qala Allahu ta'ala fi Qur'anil Kareem. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna 'alan nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu 'alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli 'ala sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin ya judi wal karam. Mubarak wa sallim. Sayyiduna Anas bin Malik radiyallahu ta'ala an is reported to have said, and this is recorded in At-Tirmidhi Sharif, Anna Nabiyya qala, that Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said, Kullu ibni Adama, that every descendant of Adam alayhi salam, khata'un, is a sinner. Wa khayrul khata'ina at-tawwabun, of the sinners are those who return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now a person might turn around and say that why is it necessary that one does tawbah? Well, there are two answers to this. That firstly, the ability to do that. By committing a sin, you're only preventing your own ibadah. Secondly, fard ibadah, fard amal, are debts which must be paid. Likewise, in real life, if you have a debt and you do not pay, you'll most likely be prosecuted, or same process in Islam, that if you do not do your fard and you do not do tawbah and qada for it, you'll be prosecuted and punished. So how does someone achieve true tawbah? How does one do true tawbah? Firstly, he has to purify his heart from the sins purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and alongside this he has to have a pure intention another similar sin. I'll give you an example. Allah does zina and he wants to do tawbah in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's court. So he makes intention that he will not do this sin, and he repents for doing the sin that he did. But he'll also make an intention that he will refrain from a sin like backbiting, which is to zina. So there are 4 conditions for tawbah to be valid. Without any of these conditions, tawbah will be invalid. Firstly, abstaining from the sin. What tawbah is it? If you are doing tawbah, you are repenting, but you are doing the sin again and again. Second, you can't repent from a sin which you have not committed. Thirdly, the thing which you are abstaining from must be similar in rank to the sin which you have committed, like I just mentioned before with zina and backbiting. Fourthly, obviously your niyyah has to be purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I've mentioned the 4 conditions. Now there are preconditions for tawbah, and without this then your tawbah is useless. Firstly, you have to have hate for the sin. You have to hate the sin, you have to have regret for this sin. Secondly, you have to remember how you have displeased Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that His wrath will be with you His wrath will be upon you if you do sin. Thirdly, remember that you are weak and you are a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a slave never displeases his master. There are 3 types of sin. Firstly, if you miss out the netting qada and tawbah before, for example siyam, fasting, namaz and zakah, you miss this, you not only have to do qada, but you also have to do tawbah. Secondly, the sin only between subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example drinking or listening to music. Thirdly, there's a sin between you and others. For this, as tawbah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to ask from the person who you have wronged. For example, you've backbited about them, or you've sworn at them, or used vulgar language against them, then inshallah, if you ask with remorse and regretfulness, then inshallah ta'ala you will be forgiven. And remember, you become the Habib of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you repent, just as is mentioned in the ayat of the Holy Quran. There is the method for, and I will quickly go through it. Firstly, you have to have a firm niyyah in your heart. With everything, you have to have a niyyah. It is fard to have a niyyah. It's not farz, it is sunnah to proclaim it and to say it. It is fard to have firm and established in your heart. Secondly, you have to make things right. In other words, if you need to, if needs be, you need to cry whilst doing istighfar. And one of the istighfar you can do is the one which I mentioned yesterday. Thirdly, do ghusl, the major ritual impurity, the major ritual bath, and wear clean clothes. And also, when you use your clean clothes, you apply some itr, as it attracts the malaika towards you. Fifthly, perform 4 rakat nafil salah, bearing in mind that you perform all actions and all mustahab actions. Sixthly, put your head on the ground in sajda in a way where only Allah can see you. Seventh, eighth, beg for forgiveness by Allah subhanahu. And if you want your tawbah to be accepted, then use a wasila. If you have a pir or murshid, ask for his wasila. If you need to, use the wasila of the awliya kiram, use the wasila of the anbiya kiram. Inshallah ta'ala, if you are Sunni Sayyid Akida, then no doubt your tawbah will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And obviously, finally, constantly praise the Sayyidul Anbiya, the best of creation, Sayyidina Sarkar Mustafa sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, by praying Durood Sharif. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.